You sit down at your desk, ready to tackle that big project you've been putting off for weeks. But instead of diving in, you find yourself scrolling through social media or cleaning your workspace for the third time that day. You tell yourself it's just a quick break, but suddenly hours have passed, and the project remains untouched. Sound familiar? This is procrastination, and it happens to all of us. It feels overwhelming and frustrating, especially when you know how much you need to accomplish. You might avoid tasks because they seem too big or boring, or you fear you won't do them perfectly. Whatever the reason, procrastination keeps you from achieving your goals and living your best life. But it doesn't have to be this way. In this video, we'll explore 8 uncommon strategies to tackle procrastination like a pro. Unlike the usual advice, make a to-do list or just get started, there are better psychological techniques that can make a difference. These strategies will boost your productivity, empower you to take action, and break free from procrastination. So, stick around, and without further ado, let's dive in. But first, understand what is procrastination. Procrastination is the act of delaying or putting off tasks, often until the last minute. To put it in more simple words, when we delay doing something important, even though we know it needs to be done. Research shows that about 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators, so we frequently struggle to complete tasks on time. While putting things off might feel easier in the moment, it usually leads to stress later when deadlines are closer and the pressure builds. Procrastination happens to everyone, but why do we keep putting off tasks even when we know it's not good? Scientifically speaking, procrastination is tied to how our brains respond to stress. When we face a task we don't want to do, like giving a presentation in front of the whole class, the brain sees it as a threat. At this point, the amygdala, the part of the brain that handles emotions and fear, kicks in. It triggers a stress response, releasing hormones like adrenaline that cause anxiety. As soon as the brain's fear response takes over, this makes you choose something easier or less stressful to do. The result? You procrastinate. But what else leads to procrastination? There are a few more common reasons too. First, fear of failure often causes people to delay tasks. When you're worried about not doing something perfectly, it's easy to avoid starting altogether. Another factor is a lack of motivation. When a task doesn't seem interesting or rewarding, you're more likely to push it aside. The less motivated you feel, the harder it is to get started. Perfectionism is another culprit. Sometimes we want everything to be flawless, which makes us avoid tasks out of fear that the final result won't meet our high standards. Now it's your turn. Tell us in the comment area. What is the main reason you put things off? How do you handle it then? Finally, distraction plays a huge role. With so many things competing for your attention, social media, love life, or even chores, it's easy to lose focus and end up putting off what matters. The good news is that there are many ways we can use to overcome procrastination. So now let's look at some actionable steps to deal with procrastination like a pro. First, eat the frog. Mark Twain once said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. Sounds a bit strange, right? But think about it. If you wake up and face that daunting task right away, you clear the mental clutter and free up your day. Just imagine starting your morning knowing you've tackled the toughest part first. You might have a slimy frog waiting for you, like that report you've been putting off or that workout you dread. Now, if you push it off until later, guess what? You spend the whole day stressing over it. You're trying to enjoy lunch or a chat with friends, but your mind keeps drifting back to that wretched frog waiting for you. The longer you wait, the bigger the pile of frogs gets. If you put it off for a week, you'll end up with a feast of 7 frogs. Yuck, man. Are you a master at eating the frog, or do you leave it hopping around all day? Comment below. So, do yourself a favor. Tackle that frog first thing in the morning, and you'll find that the rest of your day feels a lot lighter and much more enjoyable. Okay, so number 2. Let's talk about the Pomodoro technique. Imagine you're working on a big project, and instead of dragging it out for hours, you set your timer for 25 minutes. You dive into the work, and then when the timer goes off, you grab a snack or just chill for a few minutes. It breaks the task into manageable chunks, making it less daunting. The idea behind this technique is to work in bursts of 25 minutes, followed by a 5-minute break. You get to focus on one task during those 25 minutes, and then you reward yourself with a little break to refresh your mind. There's a study that found people are 25% more productive when they take regular breaks, so why not give it a shot? Another effective approach is to build self-discipline. You know that feeling when you sit down to work, but you suddenly remember that you forgot to feed your pet goldfish? Goldfish need snacks too. You need to have self-discipline if you want to beat procrastination. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, people who practice self-discipline are more likely to achieve their goals. So, what can you do? Start small. Pick one task each day that you commit to completing no matter what. If you want to exercise, promise yourself just 10 minutes of movement. And guess what? Once you get going, you might end up exercising for half an hour. It's all about setting tiny goals and sticking to them. As philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson said, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. If you want to dive deeper into building self-discipline and see how it can benefit you, check out our detailed video on the topic. Let's talk about the 3-2-1 rule. It's a game changer when it comes to overcoming procrastination. The idea is super simple. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, you count down from 3 to 2 and then jump into action on 1. Don't give your brain the time to even think about the future, past, or any such thing that can hold you back. You can spend another hour stressing about cleaning your messy wardrobe, or you could just use the 3-2-1 rule. Breathe in deeply, hold it for a second, then let it out. Count down 3, 2, 1, and boom! You're fixing that wardrobe before you can even second guess yourself. The work would feel overwhelming, but counting down is easy. Once you start counting, you're tricking your brain from transitioning into inaction to action. Comment below. What's the one task you're going to tackle with the 3-2-1 rule today? Clean your physical environment. You might not realize it, but the mess around you can mess with your mind. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. Studies show that people who work in tidy environments tend to be more productive and less stressed. Imagine you're about to sit down to work, but there's a pile of dishes in the sink, clothes on the floor, and crumbs on your desk. Your mind keeps wandering to the mess around you rather than focusing on the project. In the same way you wouldn't invite friends over to a cluttered house, you shouldn't invite your work into a chaotic space. By taking just 10 minutes to declutter your workspace, you can create a welcoming environment that encourages focus. So, grab a trash bag, clear away what you don't need, and watch how your productivity soars. After all, a tidy space leads to a tidy mind. According to a study by the University of California, people check their phones an average of 96 times a day. That's a lot of interruptions. Imagine all that time was spent on your goals instead. If you want to be productive, you've got to create a distraction-free zone. Start by turning off notifications. Use apps that limit your social media time, or even consider putting your phone in another room while you work. This way, you can focus on the task at hand without the constant temptation to check your device. By clearing those digital distractions, you'll create a space that helps you concentrate. Remember, the fewer distractions you have, the more you can achieve. Okay, so number 7 is the do something principle. Mark Manson talks about this in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. This principle suggests that the key to overcoming procrastination is simply to take action, no matter how small. When you feel stuck, doing even the tiniest task can create momentum and push you forward. As Mark Manson puts it, action creates motivation. For instance, if you have a big project due, instead of staring at the blank page, start by writing just one sentence, or maybe just your name. Just start and do something. That small step can often spark the motivation to keep going. According to research, people are 42% more likely to complete tasks when they commit to just starting them, no matter how minor the action seems. So, break that procrastination cycle by doing something. Anything, no matter how small. What's the most ridiculous thing you've done to avoid a task? Comment below. To effectively overcome procrastination, it's also essential to know your personality type. Everyone is unique, and what works for you may not work for another. Some people work best under pressure and find deadlines motivate them to work harder, while others might freeze up and struggle when given tight timelines. So understanding these differences can help you choose the right strategies to deal with procrastination. As psychologist Dr. Timothy Pitchell states, procrastination is a complex problem, not just a time management issue. This means that knowing whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, a thinker or a feeler, can shape how you approach your tasks. An extrovert might benefit from collaborating with others for study to stay engaged, while an introvert may prefer to work alone in a quiet space. By recognizing your personality traits, you can shift your approach to productivity. The key is to experiment and find what feels right, making your journey towards overcoming procrastination not just effective, but also enjoyable. As we wrap up today's video, remember that you're not alone in this struggle. We all face moments where we put things off, but with the right tools, you can break that cycle. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends who might also need a little motivation. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips on productivity and living your best life. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.